Good evening. I'm KHEL meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are taking a look at the tropics and what we're expecting to see here for the next few days. We're still tracking that little spot that's currently out in the Gulf. National Hurricane Center is giving us a 20% chance of development within the next 2 days. It's very likely that this is not going to form into an organized storm. However, it's still going to send an abundant amount of tropical moisture our way, very well giving us some widespread rain chances heading into starting Sunday, lasting through Monday and Tuesday. So as we take a look at that system is not really looking too impressive out there, especially out in the southern Gulf and Bay of Campeche. So I think we're looking at mostly quiet conditions. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where that low is, which is very good news with this system, but still a 20% very low chance of development. But as we take a look at what we're expecting to see here for the next few days, we are still looking at that system we're still remaining rather unorganized as it makes its way into central Mexico. However, we do have an approaching cold front in from the north that really will bring this heavy rain setup, at least for the start of next week for us here across southeast Texas. So as we take a look at that, models are suggesting that this system is going to want to form a cutoff low as it makes its way closer towards the Texas-Mexico border by the end and middle of the week. But I think we're just still going to be tracking more of those widespread rain chances as that front's going to want to stall out, especially as we head into the next few days. So definitely be on the lookout for some heavy rain here across the southern half of the state, as well as the potential for these showers and storms to linger at least through Thursday and Friday of this next week. So we have a lot of moisture involved. It's going to really bring us those weather impact alert days starting on Sunday. But as we take a look closer at what we're expecting to see here across the Houston area in terms of our future track, we are looking at a quiet night tonight. Things are going to start off quiet for tomorrow morning, but then once we get closer towards around the later morning hours of Sunday, that's when we're going to start seeing more of those scattered showers and downpours start erupting, especially around the noon hour here across the Houston area. So we're going to be dodging those hit or miss downpours and storms, especially as we head into the afternoon. We have a little bit of a break throughout the evening and afternoon hours. However, Monday, we could very well see that rain becoming a bit more scattered and widespread here across the Houston area. So Monday and Tuesday are going to be the primary days that we're going to be looking at the heavier downpours and the possible flooding concerns. But as we take a look at those rain totals, we are looking at close to 3 to 5 inches of rain in some locations, especially as we look at the forecast accumulations taking it out through next Wednesday. And so the Storm Prediction Center is including areas across Houston for Sunday under a marginal risk. I think for the most part, the flooding risk for Sunday not as high. We haven't had rain for a few days. We've only had some isolated showers, but I think this is going to really keep that rain chance or the flooding potential pretty much at a minimum for Sunday afternoon. However, Monday, the Storm Prediction Center does up that flooding risk to a slight risk. That is that's a 2 out of 4 on the flood index scale. But definitely expecting that Sunday, those evening downpours to really be more of a low to medium flooding risk for the afternoon hours. And then heavy rain expected Monday, lasting through Tuesday. And so that's where we're going to start seeing more of that high flooding risk for us here across southeast Texas. When we take a look at what those storms usually form, especially when it comes to the June development areas, any storm that does form in the Bay of Campeche usually likes to skirt up and down the Texas and Mexican coast, especially as it makes its way into our inland areas. Any storm that forms out in the Caribbean makes its way across the Florida Peninsula, but I think for the most part, we're not looking at any other disturbance here across the Gulf or across the Atlantic Basin. We're also, we've seen that NOAA has released that we are officially in El Nino, which really does bring us a cooler and wetter winter, but also it brings us a less active hurricane season. During those El Nino years, we have higher wind shear in the Gulf and Caribbean, and wind shear are higher level wind speeds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that really does a great job at tearing those systems apart, especially when it comes to hurricane season, which is the reason why we're seeing a pretty much less active hurricane outlook through the next few days. And so when it comes to hurricane season, of course, that peak date is on September 10th. We are in the beginning of hurricane season, June 10th, but of course the peak of the season is on September 10th. That's when we see most of our named storms, but we have seen some systems cause havoc for us here across southeast Texas in the month of June. Of course, flashback to Tropical Storm Allison that happened back in 2001. That was a pretty devastating storm, and so it's not out of the question that we could still look at more of those June or July storms or events, especially as we progress through the next few days. This is a look at the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season names. We start out with Arthur, Bertha, Cristobal, Dolly, and Edward, ending in Teddy, Vicky, and Wilfred. We have not had a name stormed out in the Atlantic Basin yet. Of course, they have out in the Pacific Ocean. That's another set of names. I think they're actually down to Christina at the current moment. The first one was Amanda out in the Pacific Ocean. But if you are just now joining me for our tropics update, we're still looking at that little system that's currently out in the Gulf that has a 20% chance of development within the next 2 days. A very low chance of development, but the National Hurricane Center has sort of scaled back the highlighted area that they are forming with this system, especially as we go into the next few days. But something that we're kind of keeping an eye on, especially as we head into this weekend and throughout the end of next week. So tropical satellite showing just really not much organization or any type of distinct systems out across the Bay of Campeche or the southern Gulf. So anything that does form is going to take it into central Mexico. But if we do get a little bit of a cutoff low, we're going to have to watch this system pretty closely, especially if it does start moving up towards the U.S.-Mexico border or along the Texas coast, especially as we progress through the next few days. So abundant amount of tropical moisture heading our way. We do have an approaching cold front that's going to be moving through by Monday and Tuesday. That cold front, all that's going to do is just keep that rain activity there for Monday and Tuesday. It's not really going to bring us cooler temperatures. It's just going to really just stall out over us and really keep that unsettled weather pattern for the start of our week. But we're definitely anticipating some heavy rain at times here across the Houston area as we start our week. This is the only system that we're looking at, especially out in the Atlantic Basin. We're not looking at any other storms or any other disturbances currently happening out across the Atlantic. So this is what we're currently tracking, especially as we progress through the next few days. So as we take a look towards the week, we very well could see more of that scattered rain and storm activity, especially as we head towards Thursday and Friday. So just keep an eye out on the scattered downpours and the possibility for some flooding concerns, especially as we progress through the week. So we're going to be once again back to that wet and rainy pattern here across the Houston area, especially as we head into next week. Starting tomorrow, Sunday at 12 p.m. is when we'll start seeing those isolated storms start flaring up and becoming a bit more widespread, especially as we head into those afternoon hours. As you see here on our future track model, by 1:30 to 2 p.m., we could be looking at thunderstorms in the Houston area. And that's all I have for you. That is our tropics update. Make sure to tune in just a little under an hour on the KHU 11 News at 10 p.m. We'll have the latest news and weather headlines for you, and definitely just always stay up to date with the weather updates on the KHU 11 app by having those notifications on. We are sending daily updates and hourly updates, especially for tomorrow, because our weather impact alert days will be beginning tomorrow, and that's going to be lasting at least through Tuesday. And so we're going to keep an eye on those days for the next few days, but more so Monday, Tuesday is going to be those days that we're going to have to really keep an eye on those rain accumulations, especially as that scattered rain chance is going to persist at least to the start of next week. And we're still looking at a pretty wet and stormy end of the week as well. So stay safe out there and have a great rest of your evening.